Harry's wife. Another one bites the dust. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor, and as you'll all be familiar with the Queen's song, it would appear that that is entirely apt when it comes to Harry's wife, as reported in The Times in an article by Ben Ellery. Harry and Harry's wife lose another aide. Harry's wife has quite the history with regard to losing people, and the reasons for that tend to be twofold. The first is that the narcissists will lose people by either disengaging from them or placing them on the shelf and keeping them on the shelf for a considerable period of time, which gives the impression of, in effect, losing them. The narcissist appears to jettison that individual. Where disengagement occurs, the individual is jettisoned, but of course, we always reserve the right to hoover you back, either into the relationship or, for the purposes of just controlling you and drawing fuel, maybe a residual benefit along the way. It's never truly over, and that's why my video, which I'd encourage you to watch, The Final Discard, demonstrates why there is no such thing. You're always of use to us until the time that you're not, until the time that you are again. And as a consequence of our sense of entitlement, our lack of accountability, the absence of emotional empathy, an absence of boundary recognition, and our manipulative needs to acquire the prime aims, we will use you, drop you, pick you up again, drop you, pick you up again, and so on and so forth for as long as you allow us to do that. But we do create the impression of losing people when we cast you to one side, be it through disengagement or long-term shelving. The alternative where loss occurs is, of course, as where an appliance escapes from us. Whether it's a romantic partner, work colleague that's decided they've had enough and doesn't want to involve themselves with us any longer, an employee, a friend, even a family member. There are instances, and increased instances, of course, as a consequence of access to my work, of those that escape the narcissist. And it's narcissists that lose people far more than any other categorization of people. Why? 1, because of the way we view you. 2, the way we treat you, which causes some people to think, I'm not going to stand for this any longer. The demands that a narcissist places upon the appliances, seen through the narcissistic perspective, are invariably greater than those that people would expect. Unbeknownst to you, you don't realise that the person that you're dealing with sees you through an alternative reality, essentially where you are expected to provide us with control and know that that's the case, even though the narcissist themselves doesn't realise, where it's unaware narcissists, that that is what they actually require from you. Alongside, of course, fuel, character traits and residual benefits. It is a considerable burden that's placed upon you, and one that invariably you will always, at some juncture, fail to discharge, resulting in you receiving some devaluing behaviour. Of course, this can happen again and again and again, and in a work context, certain narcissists are particularly demanding and awful, expecting you to work outside of your contracted hours without payment, contacting you out of hours with ridiculous demands, expecting you to do things for the narcissist which are below your pay grade or simply outside of the employment arrangement. For instance, take my dry cleaning in, when you're there to be somebody's accountant, that you're expected to watch over the boss's kids when you're actually there as a marketing manager. The fact that you're expected to suddenly drop everything at 10 o'clock at night to go and pick up your boss because he's had too many drinks and he wants somebody to drive him home. The expectation that everything ought to have been done yesterday. The expectation that you should be able to read the mind of the narcissist to know what it is you should have been doing. And of course, many of these individuals are just described as divas, high maintenance, difficult to work for, highly strung, etc. And what these people are really dealing with is a narcissist. And thus, there comes a time when people have had enough. And it would appear, as reported by The Times, that yet again Harry's wife has fallen foul of this. The article explains, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have lost another key aide from their media empire and charitable foundation. Mandana Dayani has stepped down from Archwell and becomes the latest of at least 13 staff to leave since 2018. Her exit, after less than 18 months in her job as president of Archwell, in which she oversaw day-to-day operations, comes days before the release of a 6-part documentary about the couple's acrimonious dispute with the royal family. A spokeswoman for the foundation said the couple would now take full lead of their company. And of course, that is demonstrative of Harry's wife's need for total control. The fact that she basically thinks that other people can't do it, and she can. That they don't understand what the job requires, that they don't understand what she requires. And of course, the upshot of all of that is that she believes that she can do better. I will take control of it, because of course, in Harry's wife's world, she is superior to everybody else. Naturally, she doesn't think to herself, hang on a second, in the last 4 years we've lost 13 staff, and it's not like we employ thousands of people. That turnover is quite high for an operation of the size that we have, and moreover that this person only lasted 18 months in their job. Maybe we should look at some feedback and perhaps ascertain what's going wrong here. Of course not. It never enters Harry's wife's head whatsoever that she could be the problem. It never enters her mind that she has caused the difficulties with regard to staff leaving. In her mind, they are disloyal, treacherous, they weren't up to the job, they were incompetent, they couldn't cope with the demands and pressure, they were flaky. And therefore, their loss is explained away as being all about them and nothing to do with Harry's wife's behaviour. The Iranian-born activist US media connections led to her becoming one of Sussex's most important advisors. Catherine Saint-Laurent left her job as Chief of Staff and Director of Archwell in March last year, after little more than 12 months in the role, and Toya Holness, the Foundation's Global Press Secretary, stepped down earlier this year. Ashley Hansen, Harry's wife and Harry's Global Press Secretary, said that Diana has been an integral part of Archwell, and we are grateful for her passion, commitment and leadership. She added Miss Dayani was brought on during their parental leave. From what? To move the company and its projects forward. She has continued to shape its vision and future successfully. Of course, more meaningful claptrap from the House of Sussex. Her transition was mutually planned, of course it was, with intent for the Duke and Duchess to now take full lead of their company, i.e., we always meant for this to happen. This, of course, is the after-event revision of history that a narcissist is so famed for. There will be no replacement for this position, which to my mind tells us two things. One, it's demonstrative of the control of Harry's wife, and two, I suspect the Foundation can't afford her to replace her either. There will be no replacement for this position, and Diana is in full supportive of the Duke and Duchess in their new leadership roles, and they remain friends. Diana, 40, describes herself as an entrepreneur, attorney, activist, executive producer and investor, and posted a picture on Instagram in October of herself alongside the Duchess and Hansen. She oversaw the couple's production and audio companies and their non-profit foundation. She played a key role in developing Harry's wife's Spotify podcast, Archetypes. Well, you should be hanging your head in shame after that clusterfuck. And left on the eve of Archwell's biggest success, a Netflix series that is already making headlines around the world. Of course, was she pushed or did she leave of her own accord? It'd be interesting to know what she has to say about it, aside from the press releases. Diana changed her LinkedIn profile at the weekend to show that her role at Archwell was over. It now reads, President, Archwell, full-time June 2021 to December 2022, 1 year, 7 months. Diana, who has 2 other activist roles, has not listed a new job title or position. She did not respond to a request for comment. If this was mutual, one would suspect that she would have been able to set up a new role, and therefore that would have appeared perhaps in her LinkedIn profile. The fact that she has not responded means that she's likely to have had to sign an NDA, and one suspects that, as ever, the difficulties of working for Harry's wife have come to the fore. And either she has bailed of her own accord, perhaps doing so even before she has been able to secure alternative employment, such as her need to get away from Harry's wife, or she's been potted by Harry's wife as part of her unreasonable demands and the necessity of asserting control herself. Either way, losing yet another staff member is indicative and representative of the behaviours of a narcissist and gives us another opportunity to understand the working environment that an individual has in relation to Harry's wife. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.